Hey you guys, today for math we are going to be going over dividing by a whole number. It is unit 7-4 and here is the standard that we are focusing on today for your work. So please keep this in mind as you are doing your work for me today. I also included a little bit of math humor for you right here. I don't like long division. I always feel bad for the remainders, and that's kind of funny to me because remainders are left alone. That's why they're remaining. And then something I would have probably said to my teacher or one of my friends when I was back your age is, how do you divide 17 potatoes between people? Well, you mash them. No need to do any thinking. Gotta be creative. So with that being said, let's get started on dividing by a whole number and have some fun. So here we are, you guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you not only how to divide when you see a decimal in your problem, but how to solve a word problem as well. Call it two birds with one stone. So let's take a look at our word problem that we have here. Admission to an amusement park cost $107.25 for 3 friends. If the price was the same for each friend, what was the cost of each admission? The key here is, if the price was the same for each friend, then what would the cost be for each admission? All right, so let's start breaking this down step by step by step, because that's what we do when it comes to a word problem. So first things first, what is it that I need to know? Think about that for a second. Well, if you said, what is the admission cost for each friend, or you said something very similar to that, go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back because you did a great job. Now let's move on. I need now to find out what information do I have or do I know that will help me solve the problem. Because now I know what I need to find out or what I need to know, the next thing is, what information is around there to help me figure this problem out. So let's take a look at our word problem and let's think of what's some information that's there that will help me figure out this word problem. Well, I do know several things. I know that the total cost was $107.25. That's important, right? Especially if I'm trying to figure out how much each ticket would cost each person, I would need to know the total cost. And if I need to figure out the cost of each ticket for each person, well, how many people went? I think that's important too. I know I'm going to need to know how many people, and there were 3 friends that went. So now I have that information. That information is going to be really helpful to me to figure out this word problem, because now I can figure out the cost of each person. But that leads me to my next question. What operation am I going to use in order to solve this problem? Well, I know I need to figure out how much it costs each person. So I'm not going to multiply it because that wouldn't make sense. If my total cost was $107.25, if I multiplied it, it would be like $325. That wouldn't make sense for each person to pay $325. I'm not going to add because I'm trying to figure out how much it costs each person. So adding is just not going to work because it doesn't make sense. I can subtract, I guess, but subtract what? If I subtracted $107.25 minus 3, that would give me $104.25. So subtraction's not going to work. Should I divide? If I divide, I'm dividing 3 into $107.25, and it should break it out evenly for me, or give me at least an even cost for each person. So I think division is going to be my best bet. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the operation of division to solve my problem. And what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and we're going to solve this problem by dividing. And I want you to really pay careful and close attention to what I do at the decimal point in this problem, because that's what your entire focus is going to be on today when you're practicing this skill. All right, so here's our problem. I have the $107.25 divided by 3. So you can see that I put my larger number inside the house. I always do that. And my divisor is on the outside. Now, this is just division with a lot of numbers. But the process just repeats. It's like a pattern. You start off, and then you just keep repeating the pattern until you're done. So I would like you to go ahead, pause the video, and divide this problem on your own, and then follow along with me when you're done to see if you did it correctly. All right, let's start a little division. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and I'm going to say, does 3 divide into 1? Well, no, it can't, because if I'm looking to divide 3 and this number is smaller than 3, it's not going to work. So I'm going to move over to my 0, and I'm going to ask myself the question, how many times does 3 go into 10? Well, I know that 3 goes into 10 3 times because 3 times 3 is 9. So I'm going to put a 3 directly above my 0. Do you guys notice how my alignment is very straight? That's going to be really important with this type of division, because if you have it crooked and when you go to place your decimal point, it could screw up where you place your decimal point. So make sure that you are lined up very straight. 3 times 3 is 9. And now 10 minus 9 is 1. I'm going to drop down my 7. And now I'm going to go ahead, and how many times does 3 go into 17? Remember, we want to get as close as possible without going over. 3 times 5 is 15, because 3 times 6 is 18, so it's going to be 5 times. So I'm going to put the 5 directly over the 7. Again, notice my alignment, perfectly straight. Now I multiply. 5 times 3 is 15. And that gives me 2. And now I'm going to bring down my 2. It almost feels like we're getting larger with our numbers, doesn't it? Instead of getting smaller. Kind of excites me. I know, I'm crazy that way. All right, how many times does 3 go into 22? Remember, we want to get as close as possible without going over. 3 goes into 22 7 times, because 3 times 7 is 21. So I'm going to place my 7 directly above my 2. Notice my alignment. 7 times 3 is 21. I subtract again, and that's 1. Oh, division is so much fun. I know. I have fun with it too. Now we bring down our 5. This is our last number that we have to divide, and we're almost done. Bring down my 5. Hey! 3 goes into 15 5 times, and it goes into it evenly. So 3 goes into 15 5 times. Place my 5 directly above my 5. And then we multiply again. 5 times 3 is, you guessed it, 15. And then 15 minus 15 is 0. Now, so far I have 3575. But am I done? I'm not done, because I still have to take care and place this decimal point. All I have to do to place the decimal point is just bring it straight up. And when I do that, I'm going to place it directly in between the 5 and the 7. And that's why your alignment has to be so straight. Because if it's crooked, you might accidentally place it between this 7 and 5. And that would make your answer wrong. Or maybe between those two numbers. That would make your answer wrong. So your placement and your alignment has to be straight. And then my final answer, so Natalie doesn't have a cow and come up and try to correct me, is going to be $35.75 for each, I'll write it so she doesn't come up and talk to me about it, for each friend. Oops, E-I-N-D, whatever. Buddy, we'll say buddy. There. And that's how simple it is. So what I just did here is I showed you how to divide by a whole number, and you just bring up your decimal point and you divide normally. All right? Slow down when you're doing this today. Use your multiplication chart if you have one. Check your multiplication and check your division and watch your steps. And remember, follow the pattern. You saw me repeating the pattern every single step. You do the same thing, and I will guarantee you success. Good luck, you guys.